The combat assessment came at the end of the semester. Every student had to demonstrate their fighting abilities in front of the class. It was supposed to be a controlled exercise, a chance to show skill and technique. Partners were assigned randomly. When Lily saw her name paired with Crixer, she knew it was not random at all. The assessment hall was enormous, with high ceilings and padded floors. Seats rose in circles around the central arena, filled with students and instructors eager to watch. Combat assessments were always popular, but today the crowd was larger than usual. Word had spread that the human was fighting the Thorvian. Everyone wanted to see what would happen. Lily stood at one end of the arena. She wore the standard training uniform, which hung loose on her small frame. Across from her, Crixer was smiling. He looked like a predator that had finally cornered its prey. Combat assessment rules, the instructor announced. First to 3 clean strikes wins. Excessive force will result in penalty. Begin on the signal. The signal sounded. Crixer did not wait. He charged across the arena with terrifying speed, his armored fist swinging toward Lily's head. She dove to the side, barely avoiding the blow. The air from his punch moved her hair. She tried to fight back. She had trained as hard as she could, learning the basic combat forms taught at the academy. But Crixer was faster, stronger, and far more experienced. Every move she made, he countered. Every strike she attempted, he blocked with contempt. His first hit caught her in the ribs. Pain exploded through her side. 1 point, the instructor called. Crixer grinned. Come on, human. At least make this interesting. His second hit caught her shoulder, spinning her around. She stumbled but stayed on her feet. 2 points. The crowd was silent now. This was not a fight. It was punishment. Crixer moved in for the final strike. But instead of a clean hit, he grabbed Lily's arm and twisted. The motion was savage, far beyond what the rules allowed. Lily heard something crack, and white-hot agony shot from her elbow to her fingertips. She screamed. Crixer released her and stepped back, his expression innocent. Apologies. She moved unexpectedly. It was an accident. Lily collapsed to her knees, clutching her arm. Tears streamed down her face, though not entirely from pain. Through blurred vision, she saw the instructor frowning, checking his notes, looking uncertain. The match is concluded, the instructor finally announced. Victory to Crixer. The injury appears to be accidental. No penalty. No penalty. They carried Lily to the medical bay. The doctors there, beings made of light who could heal almost anything, fixed her arm in an hour. But as she lay on the bed, staring at the ceiling, she felt something inside her break that no doctor could repair. Nyla came to visit that evening. She slipped into the medical bay quietly, looking around to make sure no one saw her. Her golden fur was flat with anxiety, and her large eyes were full of something that might have been guilt. I'm sorry, she whispered, sitting beside Lily's bed. I'm so sorry. What he did was wrong. Everyone knows it was wrong. Lily turned her head to look at her. Then why doesn't anyone stop him? Nyla's ears flattened. His family is too powerful. The Thorvian Empire controls half the galaxy's trade routes. If someone accuses Crixer of anything, his family will destroy them. Careers, reputations, everything. People are afraid, including you. Nyla looked down. Yes, including me. Her voice was barely audible. I'm a coward. I know that. But I wanted you to know that not everyone thinks what he does is right. Some of us are just too scared to say it. Lily was quiet for a long moment. Then she said, Thank you for telling me. It matters. After Nyla left, Lily lay in the darkness and made a decision. She was done being a victim. She was done waiting for someone else to save her. If the system would not protect her, she would protect herself, but she would do it the right way. Not in shadows, not through tricks, but openly, in front of everyone. The next morning, Lily checked out of the medical bay and went to the Academy archives. She spent hours reading about galactic traditions, searching for something she could use. And finally, she found it. The honor duel. It was an ancient tradition, recognized by almost every species in the galaxy. When someone's honor had been violated, they could challenge their tormentor to formal combat. The challenge could not be refused without permanent disgrace. The duel would be witnessed by the entire academy, and the outcome would be binding forever. Lily read the rules carefully. She studied the requirements. She understood the risks. If she lost, she would be humiliated beyond recovery. She would have to leave the academy in shame. Her failure would reflect on all humans, proving that they were as weak as everyone believed. But if she won, everything would change. For 2 weeks, Lily prepared in secret. She woke before dawn and trained alone in empty practice rooms, pushing her body harder than she had ever pushed it before. She studied Thorvian physiology, learning every weakness, every vulnerability that their armor bodies possessed. She watched recordings of Crixer's fights, memorizing his patterns, his habits, his blind spots. Humans were not the strongest species. They were not the fastest or the toughest. But they had something that many species did not understand. They could adapt. They could learn. And they could endure pain that would break other creatures. Lily was counting on that. On the 15th day, she walked into the main hall during the morning assembly. Hundreds of students filled the seats. Instructors stood along the walls. Commander Zethus himself was present, his glowing form hovering near the front. Lily's voice rang out clearly in the sudden silence. Crixer of the Thorvian Empire, you have violated my honor through cruelty and cowardice. Under the ancient laws recognized by all civilized species, I challenge you to an honor duel. Do you accept, or do you admit your disgrace before this assembly? Gasps filled the hall. Students looked at each other in disbelief. A human challenging a Thorvian? It was madness. It was suicide. Crixer rose slowly from his seat. His red eyes burned with surprise, then amusement, then something darker. You challenge me? He laughed, and the sound echoed off the walls. Little human, you have no idea what you are asking for. But if you want to be broken in front of the entire academy, I will be happy to grant your wish. He stepped forward, his massive form towering over everything around him. I accept your challenge. The crowd erupted in noise and chaos. But Lily stood perfectly still, her eyes never leaving Crixer's face. She had started something that could not be stopped. For better or worse, her fate would be decided in front of everyone, and she was not afraid. The message came on a Tuesday morning, and it changed everything. Every screen on Earth went dark at the same moment. Televisions, phones, computers, and billboards all showed the same image, a symbol made of 7 overlapping circles, pulsing with soft blue light. Then a voice spoke in every language at once, calm and cold and impossibly clear. To the species known as humanity, you have been observed. You have been measured. The Galactic Council demands your presence. Send 3 representatives to the coordinates provided within 30 standard cycles. Failure to comply will be considered an act of hostility. This is not a request. The message ended. The screens returned to normal, and the world erupted into chaos. Daniel Cruz heard the message while drinking coffee in his small apartment in Houston. He was 52 years old, a former military captain who had spent the last decade working as a diplomatic advisor. He had gray hair at his temples and calm brown eyes that rarely showed surprise. But when the message ended, his coffee cup slipped from his fingers and shattered on the floor. Aliens, real aliens. And they wanted to talk. Within hours, Daniel received a call from the United Nations. Within days, He was sitting in a room with the most powerful leaders on Earth, listening to them argue about who should represent humanity to the galaxy. "We need soldiers," one general said. "Show them we're strong." "We need scientists," a professor argued. "Show them we're intelligent." "We need politicians," a diplomat insisted. "Show them we can negotiate." Daniel listened to all of them, and then he spoke. "We need people who can adapt. People who can think on their feet. People who won't panic when everything goes wrong." The room fell silent. Everyone looked at him. 2 weeks later, Daniel stood in a secure facility with the two people chosen to join him. Megan Torres was a xenobiologist, 41 years old, with dark hair pulled back in a practical braid. She had spent her career studying how different species communicate and form bonds. Her eyes were sharp and curious, always watching, always learning. Nathan Price was younger, 34, an engineer who had helped design some of Earth's most advanced spacecraft. He was tall and lean, with the kind of hands that were always busy fixing something. He spoke less than the others, but when he did speak, his words carried weight. "So," Nathan said, looking at the transport vessel waiting for them on the landing pad. It was shaped like a silver teardrop, with no visible engines or windows. "We're really doing this. We're really doing this," Daniel confirmed. Megan stepped forward, her eyes fixed on the alien ship. 50 years. They've been watching us for 50 years since our first faster-than-light test. Why contact us now? "I guess we'll find out," Daniel said. They boarded the vessel. The interior was smooth and white, with curved seats that adjusted automatically to fit their bodies. A moment after they sat down, the ship lifted off without any sensation of movement. Through a view screen that appeared in the wall, they watched Earth shrink behind them, becoming a blue marble, then a dot. Then nothing at all. The journey took 6 days. During that time, they met their escort, a being called Torvik, who belonged to a species called the Selthari. He had 4 arms, pale blue skin, and eyes that seemed to hold ancient sadness. He spoke to them only when necessary, and his words were never warm. "You are being taken to the council station," Torvik explained on the second day. "There, you will stand before representatives of 847 species. They will decide your fate." "Our fate?" Megan asked. "What does that mean?" Torvik's 4 arms folded across his chest. "The council evaluates all new species. Those deemed worthy are granted membership. Those deemed dangerous are—" He paused. "Managed." "Managed," Nathan repeated. "You mean destroyed?" Torvik did not answer, which was answer enough. "Has any species from a planet like Earth ever been granted membership?" Daniel asked. "You call your world Earth. We call worlds like yours death worlds. High gravity, extreme temperatures, dangerous predators, toxic atmosphere, constant natural disasters." Torvik's voice carried something that might have been pity. "In 10,000 years of galactic civilization, no species from a death world has ever been accepted. You are considered too aggressive, too unpredictable, too dangerous." Megan leaned forward. "Then why bring us at all? Why not just destroy us without the trial?" "Because the council follows rules," Torvik said. "Every species deserves the chance to speak before judgment. Even species like yours." He left them alone after that. On the 6th day, the council station appeared on the view screen, and all 3 humans fell silent. It was massive beyond comprehension. The station was larger than Earth's moon, a sphere covered with towers and domes and structures that defied physics. Ships of every size and shape moved around it like insects around a hive. Lights glittered across its surface in patterns that might have been cities or machines or something humans had no word for. "That's where we're going," Nathan whispered. "That's where we prove we deserve to exist." Daniel placed a hand on his shoulder. "We don't prove anything. We show them who we are. That's all we can do. And if who we are isn't good enough? Megan asked quietly. Daniel looked at the station, at the impossible scale of it, at the weight of what waited for them inside. He thought about Earth, about everyone counting on them, about the billions of lives that rested on what 3 ordinary humans said and did in the next few days. Then we make it good enough, he said. We show them what we're capable of. Not our weapons, not our wars. Our courage. Our compassion. Our stubborn refusal to give up. The ship began its descent toward the station. Megan took a deep breath. No pressure? Nathan almost smiled. None at all. Daniel said nothing. He simply watched the station grow larger and larger, filling the view screen, filling the universe. Somewhere inside that impossible structure, 847 species waited to judge humanity. They had already decided that humans were monsters, born from a world of death, capable only of destruction. They were wrong. Daniel knew they were wrong. Now he just had to prove it. The ship passed through a shimmering barrier and entered the station. The view screen showed docking bays filled with vessels from 1,000 worlds. Aliens of every shape and size moving through corridors of light. 3 humans had arrived. The galaxy was not ready for them, but ready or not, they were here, and they would not be ignored. The docking bay was cold and vast, filled with sounds that Daniel could not identify. Clicking, humming, something that might have been speech or might have been machinery. Aliens moved in every direction. Some walking, some floating, some crawling along the walls and ceiling. Most of them stopped to stare at the 3 humans. Daniel had expected curiosity. What he saw instead was fear. A creature with too many eyes pulled its young ones closer as it passed. A tall being covered in silver scales actually stepped backward when Nathan looked in its direction. 2 small aliens with translucent skin whispered to each other and hurried away. They're afraid of us, Megan said quietly. Not curious, afraid. They've seen the footage, Nathan replied. Whatever footage the Council has collected about humanity. Our wars, our weapons, our history. Torvik appeared beside them, his 4 arms gesturing toward a corridor marked with symbols. Follow me. You will be taken to your quarters. The hearing begins in 12 standard hours. You will remain in your assigned section until then. They walked through the station for nearly an hour. Daniel noticed that Torvik kept them away from the main corridors, guiding them through service passages and empty hallways. They were being hidden, kept separate from the general population, like dangerous animals being moved to a cage. Their quarters were small and bare. 3 beds, a table, a view screen that showed only the Council's official symbol. The walls were gray and smooth, with no windows. These are quarantine rooms, Megan said, running her hand along the wall. Used for species that might be contagious or dangerous. They're treating us like a disease. Nathan began exploring immediately, checking every corner, every surface. Within minutes, he found what he was looking for. Surveillance devices. At least 7 of them. They're watching everything we do and say. Let them watch, Daniel said. We have nothing to hide. He sat down on one of the beds and looked at his companions. We have 12 hours. We need to learn as much as we can about what we're walking into. Megan, can you access any information through that view screen? Megan tried, but the screen only showed basic navigation data and the Council's rules for visitors. Nothing about the hearing, nothing about the charges against humanity, nothing useful at all. We're going in blind, she said. They don't want us to prepare. Daniel nodded slowly. Then we prepared differently. I'm going to request a meeting with any Council member willing to speak with us. Nathan frowned. Will anyone agree to that? We won't know unless we try. Daniel spoke his request aloud. knowing the surveillance systems would carry his words to whoever was listening. For 3 hours, nothing happened. Then the door opened, and Torvik stepped inside. "One council member has agreed to meet with you," he said. "Ambassador Kethira of the Villani Collective. She will arrive shortly." Kethira was unlike any alien they had seen so far. She was tall and slender, with skin that shifted colors like oil on water. Her eyes were large and dark, and she moved with a grace that seemed almost liquid. When she spoke, her voice was soft but carried clearly through the room. "So, these are the humans." She studied each of them in turn. "You requested a meeting. Why?" Daniel stood to greet her. "Because we know nothing about what awaits us. We were given no information, no time to prepare, no understanding of the charges against our species." "Charges?" Kethira tilted her head. "You believe this is a trial? Isn't it?" The ambassador was silent for a moment. Then she made a gesture that might have been a sigh. "You are correct. Commander Draxel of the Torvan Empire has spent years building a case for humanity's extermination. He believes your species is too dangerous to exist." Megan stepped forward. "What evidence does he have?" Kethira waved one elegant hand, and the view screen flickered to life. Images appeared. Human soldiers marching to war, nuclear explosions blooming like terrible flowers, cities burning, bodies lying in streets, forests falling to machines. "Your own history," Kethira said. 2 world wars. Countless smaller conflicts. Weapons capable of destroying your entire planet. Environmental devastation that has driven thousands of your own species to extinction. You are one of the most violent species we have ever observed. The images continued. Riots, massacres, the worst moments of human history played out in terrible detail. Daniel felt sick watching them, not because they were lies, but because they were true. Every image was real. Every horror had actually happened. "These images lack context," Megan said, her voice steady despite the pain in her eyes. "You're showing our worst moments without showing anything else. What else is there to show?" Kethira asked. Megan pointed at the screen. "That war you just showed. Humans also created organizations to help the wounded on both sides. That nuclear explosion, it ended a war that was killing millions. Those burning cities, humans ran into the flames to save strangers. You're showing what we're capable of at our worst, but you're ignoring what we're capable of at our best." Kethira studied Megan with those dark, shifting eyes. "The Council is not interested in your best. They are interested in your threat. And Commander Draxel?" Daniel asked. "What is he interested in?" "Draxel fears your species," Kethira admitted. "His people, the Torvan, are powerful warriors. They have never met a species they could not conquer. But when they studied humanity, they saw something that disturbed them deeply." "What did they see?" Kethira moved closer, her colors shifting to deeper shades. "They saw a species that fights not just to win, but to survive. A species that refuses to surrender, even when defeat is certain. A species that builds weapons capable of destroying worlds and then chooses not to use them. The Torvan understand conquest. They do not understand restraint. It terrifies them." Nathan spoke for the first time. "So they want to destroy us before we become a threat to them?" "Yes." Kethira's voice was quiet. "And Commander Draxel has convinced many that this is the wise choice." Daniel absorbed this information, feeling the weight of it settle on his shoulders. They weren't here for evaluation. They were here for execution. The verdict had already been decided. "Why are you telling us this?" he asked. "Why help us at all?" Kethira turned toward the door. "Because I am curious, Daniel Cruz. I have studied many species, and none have confused me the way humanity confuses me. You are violent and compassionate, destructive and creative, cruel and kind. I do not understand how a species can be all of these things at once. She paused at the doorway. I do not know if you deserve to survive, but I believe you deserve the chance to speak for yourselves. Then she was gone, and the three humans were alone again. The view screen had gone dark, but the images remained burned into Daniel's mind. Wars and weapons and death. That was how the galaxy saw humanity. That was all they saw. We're walking into a trial that's already been decided, Nathan said. No, Daniel replied. We're walking into an opportunity. They expect monsters. We show them something else, and if showing them isn't enough? Megan asked. Daniel looked at his companions, at their tired faces and worried eyes. They were three ordinary humans against an empire of stars. Then we make them remember us, he said. Whatever happens tomorrow, we make sure they never forget what humanity really is. The 12 hours passed slowly. When the door finally opened again, they were ready. The grand chamber was larger than any building Daniel had ever seen. It stretched upward into darkness, ringed with thousands of platforms where representatives from hundreds of species sat watching. The air hummed with translation devices, turning countless alien languages into a constant low murmur. Lights of every color pulsed and flickered as delegates communicated with their home worlds. And in the center of it all, standing on a small circular platform, were three humans. Daniel felt the weight of 800 species staring down at them. Some looked curious. Some looked hungry. Many looked at them the way humans might look at insects crawling across a kitchen floor. A deep voice echoed through the chamber, silencing all other sounds. The council recognizes High Arbiter Vorath. On the highest platform, a figure rose. Vorath was ancient, his body wrapped in robes that seemed to absorb light. His face was lined with countless years, and his eyes held the cold patience of deep space. When he spoke, every being in the chamber listened. We gathered today to judge the species known as humanity, Vorath said. They come from a world classified as hostile to life, what our records call a death world. They have achieved faster-than-light travel, and now seek to join the galactic community. The council must decide if they will be permitted this honor, or if they represent a threat too great to allow. He gestured with one thin hand, and images appeared in the air above the humans. The same images Kathira had shown them. Wars, weapons, devastation, death. The evidence speaks clearly, Vorath continued. Humanity is violent beyond measure. They have waged constant war upon themselves since their species began. They have created weapons capable of destroying their own world. They have poisoned their air, burned their forests, and driven countless species to extinction. By every standard the Council uses to judge civilizations, humanity fails. Daniel kept his expression calm, though his heart was pounding. Beside him, Megan's hands were clenched at her sides, and Nathan's jaw was tight with anger. The Council recognizes Commander Draxel of the Torvan Empire. Draxel rose from his platform. He was massive, covered in dark armored scales, with 4 burning red eyes and a mouth filled with teeth designed for tearing flesh. When he spoke, his voice was a growl that made the translation device struggle to keep up. I will make this simple, Draxel said. Humanity is a disease. Every moment we allow them to exist, they grow stronger. Every day we wait, they spread further. I have studied their history, their nature, their endless capacity for destruction. There is only one logical response to a threat like this. He pointed at the 3 humans with a clawed hand. Extermination. Complete and total. Before they become a danger not just to themselves, but to every species in this galaxy. Murmurs rippled through the chamber. Many voices seemed to agree with Draxel's words. The Council will hear from the human representatives, Vorath announced. You may speak in your defense. Daniel stepped forward. The platform beneath his feet felt very small, and the darkness above him felt infinite. But he had faced impossible situations before. He had stood firm when everything seemed lost. He would stand firm now. "High Arbiter," Daniel began, his voice clear and steady. "Commander Draxel. Members of the Council. Everything you have shown is true. I will not deny our history. I will not pretend that humanity is innocent of the crimes you have described." A surprised silence fell over the chamber. Several delegates leaned forward, uncertain where this admission would lead. "We have waged wars," Daniel continued. "We have built terrible weapons. We have damaged our world in ways that may take centuries to heal. These facts are true, and they shame us." He paused, letting his words settle into the silence. But facts without context are not truth. They are weapons used to prove whatever the speaker wishes to prove. Commander Draxel has shown you our wars. He has not shown you what came after. Daniel looked up at the assembled species, at the countless eyes watching him. "After our greatest wars, we built organizations dedicated to preventing future conflicts. We created laws to protect the innocent. We reached out to former enemies and made them friends. Yes, we have the power to destroy our world. We have chosen not to use that power for over a century. That choice, the choice to hold back, the choice to seek peace, is that not worth considering?" Draxel let out a harsh laugh. Pretty words from a species that still trains millions for combat. "You speak of peace while building warships." Megan stepped forward, taking her place beside Daniel. "May I address the commander's point?" Varath nodded. "Commander Draxel sees our readiness for war as proof of our violent nature," Megan said. "But I ask the Council to consider another interpretation. We prepare for war because we know how terrible it is. We train soldiers so that we never have to use them. We build defenses so that we never have to attack." She reached into her pocket and pulled out a small device. After a moment, images appeared in the air beside her. Different images than the Council had shown. "Our history is not only war. This is a human running into a burning building to save a stranger's child. This is a human giving water to an enemy soldier on a battlefield. This is millions of humans sending food and medicine to people they have never met on the other side of their world, simply because those people needed help." More images appeared. Doctors treating patients, volunteers building homes, strangers comforting strangers in moments of grief. "We are capable of terrible things," Megan said. "But we are also capable of this: compassion, sacrifice, the willingness to help even those who cannot help us in return. How many species in this chamber can say the same?" Silence. Then Nathan stepped forward, completing the line of three. "I'm an engineer," Nathan said. "I build things. That's what humans do. Yes, we've built weapons. We've also built hospitals, schools, and shelters. We've built machines that heal the sick and feed the hungry. We've built ships that carry us to the stars, not to conquer, but to explore, to learn, to find others like ourselves." He spread his hands, showing his calloused palms. "These hands have never held a weapon, but they've fixed broken machines, built homes for families who lost everything, and helped create technology that will bring clean water to millions. Humanity is not just our worst moments. We are also our best." The chamber was quiet now, the murmurs silenced. Even Draxel had no immediate response. High Arbiter Varath leaned forward, his ancient eyes studying the three humans with something that might have been curiosity. "You speak well," he said slowly. "But words are easy. Actions are what matter. Your species has existed for hundreds of thousands of years. In that time, you have nearly destroyed yourselves many times. Why should we believe you have changed?" Daniel met the Arbiter's gaze without flinching. "Because we're still here. Every time we've stood at the edge of destruction, we've pulled back. Every time we've faced extinction, we've chosen survival. Not through conquest, but through cooperation. Humanity's greatest strength is not our violence. It's our refusal to give up on each other. Enough, Draxel growled. We have heard enough human lies. I call for an immediate vote. Morath raised one hand, and Draxel fell silent. There will be no vote yet, the Arbiter said. The Council has heard arguments from both sides. But arguments alone cannot determine the fate of a species. We require proof. He looked down at the three humans, and something shifted in his ancient eyes. You will be given one final test. Whether you pass or fail will determine your species' future. Daniel felt a chill run down his spine. What kind of test? Vorath did not answer. He simply raised his hand again, and guards appeared at the edges of the platform. Return them to their quarters. The test will begin soon. As they were led from the chamber, Daniel looked back at the sea of alien faces watching them. Thousands of species, thousands of judgments, all waiting to see what humanity was truly made of. Whatever came next, they would face it together. That was the human way. The explosion came without warning. Daniel was lying on his bed, staring at the ceiling, when the entire station shuddered. Alarms screamed to life, filling the air with high-pitched wailing. Red lights flashed in the corridor outside their quarters. Megan was on her feet immediately. What's happening? Nathan pressed his hand against the wall, feeling the vibrations running through the metal. That wasn't a normal system failure. That was an explosion. A big one. The door to their quarters slid open, and Torvik stumbled inside. His blue skin had gone pale, and his forearms were trembling. The life support sector, he gasped. Someone has sabotaged the primary systems. Thousands of lives are at risk. Daniel grabbed the Selthary's shoulder. Which sector where? Section 12. The lower levels. Torvik's eyes were wide with fear. The area is filled with toxic gas now. Lethal to most species. The damage is spreading. If it isn't stopped, the entire station could fail. Through the open door, Daniel could see chaos unfolding in the corridor. Aliens of every shape and size were running in all directions, screaming in languages the translation devices couldn't keep up with. Parents carried children. The elderly were being pushed aside. It was panic, pure and simple. Daniel made his decision in an instant. Nathan, can you fix it? Nathan's face was grim, but his voice was steady. If I can get to the damaged systems, maybe. But you heard him. The area is full of toxic gas. Toxic to most species, Megan said slowly. But not to humans? Torvik stared at her. You come from a death world. Your bodies can survive conditions that would kill us in seconds. But even you couldn't last long in that environment. The concentration is too high. How long would I have? Nathan asked. Perhaps 10 minutes before permanent damage. Perhaps less. Nathan nodded once. Then I'll have to work fast. Daniel grabbed his arm. Nathan, this could kill you. If I don't try, thousands of people die. Nathan's eyes met Daniel's, and there was no fear in them. Only certainty. We came here to show them what humans are. This is what we are. He pulled free and ran toward the door. Daniel wanted to stop him, wanted to find another way, but there was no time. Instead, he turned to Megan. Get to the medical sector. They're going to need help treating the wounded. Megan nodded, her face pale but determined. What about you? Daniel looked out at the chaos in the corridor. Aliens were trampling each other in their panic, pushing toward escape vessels, abandoning anyone too slow to keep up. Someone needs to create order, he said. Someone needs to help them. They split up. Megan ran toward the medical sector, following the signs that pulsed on the walls. Daniel stepped into the corridor and raised his voice above the screaming. Stop. Everyone stop. No one listened. The panic was too strong, the fear too deep. Daniel pushed through the crowd, his eyes scanning for anyone who might help. He found a group of station security officers pressed against a wall, their weapons drawn, but their faces frozen with indecision. "You!" Daniel pointed at the closest officer, a tall being with gray skin and 4 eyes. "There are elderly and children being trampled. Get your team to the main corridor and start directing traffic. Send the strong to help the weak." "Now," the officer stared at him. "Who are you to give orders, human? I'm someone who isn't going to stand here and watch people die." Daniel grabbed the officer's arm and pulled him forward. "You can arrest me later. Right now, we have work to do." Something in his voice cut through the officer's fear. The being nodded slowly, then began barking orders to his team. Within minutes, the chaos in that corridor began to subside as security officers guided the panicked crowds towards safety. Daniel moved on to the next corridor. Then the next, organizing rescue efforts, calming frightened civilians, carrying children whose parents had lost them in the crowd. He didn't think about the trial, or the council, or humanity's fate. He only thought about the next person who needed help. In the medical sector, Megan found chaos of a different kind. Wounded aliens filled every available space, crying out in languages she couldn't understand. The station's doctors were overwhelmed, rushing from patient to patient with no time to treat anyone properly. Megan pushed up her sleeves and approached the nearest doctor, a being with multiple tentacles and eyes that glowed with stress. "I'm a xenobiologist. I've studied alien physiology. Tell me what to do." The doctor looked at her with something between disbelief and desperation. "You're human. You can't possibly understand our biology. Try me." The doctor hesitated, then pointed to a cluster of patients with blue skin similar to Torvik's. "The Selthari. They're going into shock. They need their temperature regulated, or their hearts will fail." Megan ran to them, examining their bodies, comparing what she saw to everything she had studied. She found the biological indicators she needed and began adjusting the medical equipment to provide the right treatment. It wasn't perfect. It wasn't what a trained Selthari doctor could do. But it was enough. The patients stabilized. The doctor stared at her with new respect. "What else?" Megan asked. For the next hour, she moved from patient to patient, adapting her knowledge on the fly, saving lives through a combination of science, intuition, and sheer determination. In Section 12, Nathan was dying. The toxic gas burned his lungs with every breath. His eyes watered so badly he could barely see. Every exposed inch of skin felt like it was on fire. But he kept moving, kept working, his engineer's mind focused entirely on the problem in front of him. The sabotage was clever. Someone had deliberately ruptured the main life support conduits and damaged the backup systems. The station was bleeding atmosphere, and the damage was spreading faster than the repair systems could compensate. Nathan found the primary rupture and went to work. His hands were steady even as his body shook with pain. He rerouted power from secondary systems, jury-rigged connections from components that were never designed to work together, and slowly, painfully, began to seal the breach. 9 minutes. 10 minutes. 11. His vision was going dark at the edges. He could feel his lungs failing, his body shutting down. But the breach was almost sealed. Just a few more seconds. With the last of his strength, Nathan connected the final component. The system hummed to life. The breach sealed. The toxic gas began to clear as emergency ventilation kicked in. Nathan collapsed to the floor. Unable to move, barely able to breathe. That was how Daniel found him 20 minutes later, leading a rescue team into the damaged sector. Daniel lifted Nathan's body in his arms and carried him out, shouting for medical help. Megan was waiting when they arrived at the medical sector. Her hands, stained with the blood of a dozen different species, worked to stabilize Nathan's failing systems. "He's alive," she said finally. "Barely, but he's alive." Daniel looked down at Nathan's pale face, at the burns on his skin and the labored rise and fall of his chest. "He saved them," Daniel said quietly. "Thousands of lives, and he saved them." When the crisis finally ended, when the wounded were treated and the dead were counted, Daniel became aware of something he hadn't noticed before. Aliens were watching them. Not with fear, not with hostility, but with something else entirely. Something like Wonder. High Arbiter Vorath stood at the edge of the medical sector, his ancient eyes fixed on the three humans. Behind him, thousands of view screens showed footage from the crisis. Daniel organizing rescue efforts, Megan treating alien wounded, Nathan walking into certain death to save strangers. Ambassador Keth stood beside the Arbiter, her colors shifting through shades Daniel had never seen before. "They knew," she said softly. "They knew they might die. And they did it anyway." Vorath said nothing. He simply watched as Megan held Nathan's hand, as Daniel stood guard over both of them. As three humans from a death world showed the galaxy something it had never expected to see. Compassion. Courage. Sacrifice. Not for themselves. For strangers. For aliens who feared them and wanted them destroyed. This was humanity. The galaxy was finally beginning to understand.